Okay guys, well summer's on its way, which usually for us means a lot of hot attic installs. So I'm going to first, I guess, show you guys a couple things I've built. I believe I've made a video series about this one. This is the very first blower fan that I've built. So what I can do is, like, let's say we're working through that attic access hole. I could set this up down here and it just blasts massive amounts of air up into the attic. Certainly doesn't make it cool, but it definitely makes it bearable. This here is my second unit. This is more of a freestanding air mover. Put little wheels on it. I've got this grill that I can make it blast up or straight over. I really like this blower housing. I think it looks cool. It's pretty sturdy, but I can't find many of those. So every ECM motor that I tear out of air handlers, as we're doing changeouts, I save them. I've got a whole shed full of them, so it's time for me to build a new one.
Hi, Dad.
Well, my daughter says hi, YouTube. Any ECM motor can be run on 115 volts. That's why I save them all the 230 volt motors that I get at air handlers. It just makes it convenient to make my setup here. This is going to be our donor motor setup. This was out of a Nordyne unit. The housing's kind of flimsy, so this is going to be the housing we're going to retrofit everything into. And I'll kind of show you guys the materials I used to build the stand, stuff like that, and the key will be the wiring. I'll try and show you guys how to wire one up as well. So stay tuned, follow this series. Maybe you guys can build one of your own. Or maybe if you guys want to pay me a couple $100, I'll build you one and then pay shipping. I don't know how you get it shipped to you, but well, let's get started. First step is usually probably to clean this. I'm gonna take this apart. I might clean it. I don't know. Just take it outside and hose it off or something. Okay guys, we finally got the blower housing put together here. Had a bit of a hiccup. I had to drill new holes, clean the wheel up. It was just from an old nasty unit. So my next step is to make the frame. This is kind of what the frame's going to look like. This is the first one I ever did, so we're going to try a few different things here. We're not going to make it as tall. There's really no reason to have it so tall. This is what we're going to build it with here. And first time I started with some pretty thin gauge stuff, and it really wasn't too sturdy, so I've got some thicker steel here. Looks like we're going to make the base 16 inches long. So yeah, so 16 inches is going to be the base. Where's my tape measure? We're going to do about 16 inches, and that way I can have this foot going forward, this foot going back. I think it's best to start with the base, and then that way you can build your side pieces to length. Of course, this side is going to be about the same way. There. So I'm going to go ahead and cut my stock, and I'll pick this back up after I have the pieces cut and show you how I put those together. Alright, so I got my two bases cut here, both 16 inches. You just kind of have to watch and make sure you don't take out a hole that you might need at the end. So I'm just kind of laying those out here. And you're going to see what lays out for my vertical pieces. So I think this one I'm going to put behind the mount. Probably something like that. Just because I can't get a nut behind here. And this one on the back side, I think I'm going to go right to the housing. Right about here, I can get my hand in there and get a nut there. So it's just going to sweep out a little bit. That way it'll be a little more rigid. And this one I'm going to slip, I'm going to hold it this way, I'm going to slip it behind that bushing like a washer and come down and grab this one. So I'm just trying to get a feel for how long these pieces need to be. Looks like to me this hole will be just about right. So looks like the front pieces, well, you know what, we'll do them 8 inches. Let's see, 8 inches would be to this hole. Yeah, that should work pretty good. And the back one here. Looks like 6 inches would be plenty. So we're going to do 8, an 8 for the front, and a 6 for the back. We're going to make 2 of each, 2 8s, 2 6s. So I'll get those cut and then we'll start mocking up the framing. Okay, so I got my first section of frame mocked up here. And I like using this stock because it's got a bunch of holes in it. It's kind of like an old erector set, and you can kind of line up and make sure your stuff is about the same. Yep. This is how it's going to lay out, like so. This one's going to be different because on this one, as you can see, I made them so long that it actually got a little flimsy. So this one is going to be lower because I also picked up these little wheels from Harbor Freight. It looks like I'm going to have to make this hole bigger. Got these wheels from Harbor Freight, and that'll give me the distance I want. I had the luck of doing this first because I got 2 casters that lock, so you can lock it into place, because that one will actually start to roll away. 2 that lock, and I got 2 that don't lock here. So now it's time for the fun part, actually bolting it to the housing. And I'll probably try and figure out the best way to do that, because you do want them to be pretty level, so it takes a little bit of work to do that. But here's a rough shot of what the frame is going to look like. And I also want to get this angled right. I'm going to use a grill similar to that one, to where I can shoot the air up more vertical or bring it more straight if you want to use it on the ground. Alright, so I'm starting with this side because this side is more the non-adjustable side. I'm going to put a bolt here and here, so I've got those marked. And now I'm going to drill those out. You do go through a lot of nuts, bolts, and washers. Put a lock washer on each one. So we got nut and washer. And I bet we don't need another washer on the back side of that. Oh heck, might as well. This side is definitely a bit trickier. Shoot. There it is. Well, guys, I'm gonna pick this up after I get this stuff attached. Okay, so here's the frame all done. Got it bolted in 3 spots. Here, here, and here. Pretty sturdy. The same on both sides. So I have to actually run to the hardware store and get some nuts for these, and I will drill these holes out bigger and get the wheels on. And the frame will pretty much be done. Then we'll move on to the wiring. And I'll try to get you guys some shots of that so you know how to wire one of these up. It's a little tricky, and I'll show you how I do it. Alright, well, frame is done. Alright guys, so the hardest part about wiring this up is this is the line voltage connector off a 240 volt ECM motor. And what we have to do is add these 2 pins here and here and tie them together, and that makes this module effectively a 115 volt module. Now, removing these pins, and what I do is I just save female and male connectors off of things for this reason. The easiest way I found to do it is I just take a pick and I stick it in here like this, and I just push down these 2 little tabs, just push them in, and then you can usually work it free. It does take a while, and then once it's out, what you can do is you can just use your same pick and just spread them back out. That way they clip into the connector. So that's the hardest part, but once you get that done, all you got to do is push them in here. Usually they're all pretty much the same size. Okay, so you see that one clipped in there? She's in there. And that one clipped in there. So we're good to go. So what I'm going to do is just put a wire nut here, and now this motor is 115 volts. That's why these motors are great for blower fan installations. It's not real hard to make them 115 volts.